The prime suspect in the Babes in the Wood murders of 2 schoolgirls was branded a cowardly paedophile, after he refused to return to court as his trial draws to a close. Russell Bishop, 52, is said to have sexually assaulted and strangled 9-year-old best friends Nicola Fellows and Karen Hadaway in Wild Park, in Brighton, on 9 October 1986. He walked free after being cleared of the killings in December 1987 after a trial at Lewis Crown Court. But the former labourer was jailed for life 3 years later for an almost identical attack on a 7-year-old girl in the White Hawk area when the victim survived and was able to identify him. The Court of Appeal later quashed the earlier acquittals and ordered a retrial, after prosecutors claimed new DNA evidence proves he is the murderer. Nicola Fellows was killed in Wild Park in Brighton in October 1986. Image, PA. Giving evidence, Bishop suggested Nicola's father Barry Fellows was a better candidate for having been the killer, claiming he murdered the girls himself to cover up the guilty secret that he was complicit in the sexual abuse of his own daughter. The bereaved father left the courtroom in floods of tears after repeatedly denying the allegations. Bishop also insisted he was deeply ashamed of the latter attack, which has seen him spend the past 28 years in prison. He told the court he was in a very, very bad state at the time, having been the victim of a hate campaign in the wake of his acquittals, and targeted the girl to belittle and shame her in revenge for the backlash. Jurors were told today Bishop has chosen not to return to the Old Bailey as the final week of his trial got underway. Karen Hadaway, pictured, and Nicola were best friends. Image, PA. He had earlier refused to step back into the witness box following heated clashes with prosecutor Brian Altman QC during cross-examination. Mr. Justice Sweeney told them, "You will notice that although the 11 of you will have observed the defendant here yesterday, he is not here today. That is because he has chosen not to attend. You must not of course treat that as providing any assistance for the prosecution. We will simply continue in his absence." In his closing speech, Mr. Altman blasted Bishop's ludicrous claims from the witness box about attacking the 7-year-old girl in 1992, belittle and shame her following years of harassment after his acquittals 3 years earlier. Nicola's father Barry Fellows outside the Old Bailey last month. Image, PA. He said Bishop's hypocrisy was breathtaking, slammed the crocodile tears put on as he described the bad state he was in at the time of that attack, and added, "The deep shame he said to you he felt was exposed not as shame, but simply as a sham." Mr. Altman said, "In this case, as you witnessed yourselves, the defendant chose to give evidence. But within a relatively short time of my beginning my cross-examination of him he refused to return after the mid-morning break. During that time you may think that he showed his true colors, an abusive, aggressive and controlling man who once it was clear he could not continue giving evidence on his own terms decided to refuse to go on. He was a coward to refuse to continue his evidence before you. He is a cowardly pedophile who thinks nothing of attacking a 7-year-old girl and, on the evidence we suggest, killing 2 9-year-olds purely for his own sexual gratification. He is a coward who, in pursuit of a false acquittal for a second time, was quite happy to see Barry Fellows put through the ordeal of being accused of the sexual killings of his own daughter and her friend but was not prepared to be challenged himself." Bishop denies 2 charges of murder. The trial continues.